Are you happy? I mean, do you like yourself? Do you want to live with yourself? You may not like this episode. Look, right now, you spend any amount of time in public or just scrolling social media, wherever humans interact, and we are the most depressed and anxious society in history right now. Why does it seem so dangerous and unsafe? Why does it look like it's the most unforgiving and hostile culture in history? You can quite literally do exactly what you want to do. You can be exactly who you want to be. You can express yourself exactly the way you want to express. You can present yourself publicly exactly how you want to be presented. There's never been more access to information, experiences, voicing yourself. There has never been more echo chambers or emotional insulation, mental safety. When we think about that, our culture has never been safer. I mean, dude, like, why is everybody so unhappy? Why are we so divided and fragmented? I mean, look, it looks like our culture is literally exploding from the inside or imploding. Now, why? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, right here. Let's get to work. But first off, wait a second. All right. Let's get to work. Look, there's a specific scope for this conversation that's crucial to understand for me to state clearly. An empirical statement on the cosmic level definition of happiness is what this conversation is not meant to be. Well, then what's even the point? All right, slow down. Captain's got you covered. There are a lot of people in the world that are more deeply experienced, far more highly educated, or just basically more intelligent than me. And a lot of definitions of happiness exist. So what I'm primarily concerned with is how that very disparate collection of definitions and methods of pursuit has totally ground down true happiness to a simple state of mind or just a perceived emotion. How that confusion has totally eroded our culture is what we're talking about today, and specifically, what did happiness mean? Because you see it all over the place in founding documents and writings from people from the Enlightenment era, thinkers and revolutionaries. They talk about happiness all the time, and it's always in a really interesting context, and it never seems to be them talking about just like a state of joy. So what is it? It makes you think. When you start, listen, let me cue in on something. When you see a media blitz, or like you see the same turn of phrase, or you see the same word being used pervasively over and over and over again by mainstream media or social media outlets, it's called a media blitz. And when you see that, that's when you should start paying attention. That's when you start thinking, okay, why is it being said exactly this way? See, when you start to hear those things over and over and over again, you start to think, okay, this is approved language. This has been carefully designed and crafted. This has been put in a media kit for people to take out. It's been disseminated to all these organizations, all these institutions, all these publications, and they're supposed to use this language. It's approved language. Now, I've worked in higher ed long enough to know that a lot of what you hear is approved language. A lot of it has been engineered and masterminded and psychologized by really, 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 really smart people that are really highly trained in it. So be careful what you listen to, Sunrise Lounge. But I kept seeing happiness over and over in these documents. So what does it mean? That's what sparked my curiosity. So we're going to talk about it today. So just buckle in, man. Like, we're getting into this. Listen, when talking about happiness, it was a full state of being. It was a state of affairs, a universal status, culturally, socially, governmentally, individually. But it's about the pursuit, not the happiness. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Certain unalienable rights, among those the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration of Independence is actually the perfect statement on the definition of happiness that we're seeking, and to get there, it requires a lot of contextual awareness and critical applications of philosophy and political theory.
Darrison, let's go to Terrace and look for the bit, the head of the pit.
So the common accepted mindset is that there are three rights that were stated: life, liberty, happiness. Right? But it's actually the three which we see politicized and rhetoricalized. Is that a word? I mean, well, it is now. Listen, that's actually where we get it very, very wrong. It was establishing four distinct ideas. It was life, the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to the pursuit of happiness, and happiness being a right as well, but it's the pursuit that we're primarily concerned with. But first off, the right to life, that's where it all starts. You have the right to life, and you have the right to defend it violently when it's necessary to keep that right to life alive. Yo, I'll be honest, I'm feeling that punk rock energy. So why is everyone so sad? I mean, it's because we're obsessed. We're obsessed with joy. We're obsessed with self-gratification. And when I say we're obsessed with joy, I mean that sensation of things going well for you. All right, ever heard of a dude named Maslow? See, you've got that, yeah, I definitely heard of him in middle school, maybe, kind of thing going on. And
I don't believe you.
well, this dude Maslow developed the hierarchy of needs. And it's as foundational to sociology and psychology as Newton's laws of thermodynamics are to physics and mathematics. If you don't know who that is, I don't know. Well, in Maslow's hierarchy, right here, there are 5 tiers like a pyramid, and most important at the base and then least important at the top. You have to have the ones at the base before you can have the ones at the top. You have to have your base needs covered first and then work your way up. And your base is what's necessary for pure human existence and survival. This is things like food, shelter, water. Right? Then it goes all the way up to the needs that you have for thriving mentally and just like being fulfilled. Now, what the postmodern frontier has done is one of 2 things. It has either flipped the hierarchy upside down, or in most cases, totally ignored the foundational levels to pursue the top 1 or 2 tiers with reckless abandon, completely ignoring the other base survival needs. That is a core cause for why everyone seems so unhappy in the safest and most open-minded culture in the history of human civilization. We're working in a space where the only thing that we're after is tier 1. The very, very top, the very small part of the pyramid, and that's all we're going for. All of our philosophy, all of our education, all of our political and media rhetoric is moving towards getting people to that space because we live in what we consider the safest, most complete, most advanced, most fulfilled society and culture in the history of humankind. We feel like we have all these base level needs covered, and so we actually ignore them in favor of the higher needs. So we've been conditioned and indoctrinated to believe that pursuing and prioritizing our own needs, our own outcomes, our own gratification is the top tier practice for mental health and a favorable life experience for decades. And to hyperspeed all of that, we've deleted God from society. Now, a lot of non-Christians don't like to hear that. And even if we hadn't, the church itself is absolutely obsessed with success, with marketing at a scientific, academic level, the image, the church culture, and it's actually culturally useless and culturally irrelevant. It's something we talked about in our last episode. And that leads us to what the pursuit of happiness is. Look, we're obsessed with only doing good when it's either super convenient for our time or when monetary or societal gain is a direct and immediate result. So we have no higher power, no standard of right and wrong. We have no institution in the church that's actually standing for any sort of real truth. And even if we are doing good, it's so we can see it on our social media platforms. I mean, if you did insert good thing, did you really do it if your Instagram followers didn't see it? Did you really do that one really good thing if your TikTok followers didn't get a chance to shoot you a shot of dopamine? Check out this quote by a guy named Lao Tzu. It's an Asian dude. It's probably obvious. He said, "The man of superior virtue is not conscious of his virtue, and in this way he truly possesses virtue. The man of inferior virtue never loses sight of his virtue, and in this way he loses his virtue." What's crazy is another really influential dude in the religious and philosophical space, guy named Jesus of Nazareth, recorded in the Bible in Matthew 6, he says, "Don't let your left hand see what your right hand is doing." So let's look it up. He says, "Beware of practicing your righteousness before men to be noticed by them. So when you give to the poor, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be honored by man. Truly I say to you, they have their reward in full already. But when you give to the poor, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving will be in secret." Isn't that kind of insane? Like, kind of crazy? Two totally different dudes, 2 totally different Eastern religions, including a religion that we have, a philosophical thought space that we've adopted into Western Christianity, both saying the same thing, that if you're virtuous, you're not even going to know you're being virtuous or trying to be for the public view, right? If you're too conscious of you're doing good, then you haven't really had virtue to begin with. That is one of the core baseline reasons why this culture we live in, this society we live in now is so unhappy. So the pursuit of happiness is this. Stop doing things to be seen and heard. Doing good just for the sake of doing good, the intrinsic altruistic value of good, do that. Stop chasing your good feelings, your dopamine hits, your endorphin hits. Stop prioritizing your mental health by sacrificing everything else to prioritize your own outcomes. Stop living selfishly. Start living conscientiously. That's true happiness. And the pursuit of it from the Enlightenment perspective is this. The pursuit of happiness is not cash flow. It's not wealth. It's not prestige. Not popularity, not influence. The right to pursue is the state of liberty and agency wherein lies self-determination. The pursuit of happiness, the pursuit is self-determination. That's the pursuit of happiness that you have a right to. Liberty always requires more responsibility than you're comfortable with. A major flaw is that we've spent 250 years in our culture, in our society, in our nation, in our church, becoming complacent because things have been so good for so long. Not understanding that the baseline requirement for all of this to work, both governmentally and religiously, it requires focus, it requires drive, it requires purpose, it requires personal responsibility to succeed. You have to be responsible. It requires self-education, self-improvement. It requires positive support systems like the Sunrise Lounge. Find you a local church body, a local Christian body that preaches and believes and walks by and stands by through fire and flame, cultural persecution, religious persecution from within the gospel of grace, and stands for true religious and Christ-based, blood, cross-based, finished work-based freedom. I mean, you think back to like the new Pioneers early episodes in this season, we remember the Reverend Manasseh Cutler. He said that the ultimate goal of the American man was to, at the end of his time, have been a useful man. To be a useful man. That's the end goal. If you work hard towards being a useful man, you will start becoming more happy. You will start re-earning and regaining happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction with life. Work to be a useful man, not a fulfilled man, not a materially comforted man, not a wealthy man. Work hard to be a useful man. That is the pursuit of happiness. But Captain, I thought you said last episode that things weren't supposed to get better and that the church wasn't supposed to be mainstream. Now, where does the Bible fit into all this? What does the Bible say about it? Is it too late to say, spoiler alert, or it's not supposed to get better? All that success that the church saw, the extreme level of influence and historical records, it was all smoke. What? But you've just said that one of the problems why everyone is so unhappy is because we've deleted God from society. What do we do with that? That's what I'm going to explain to you. Your happiness cannot depend on the success of the institutions that you ascribe yourself to. Your own happiness, your own self-fulfillment is completely up to you. Well, it's just like I said in our last episode. So thanks for listening. Infinitely more responsibility lies on the individual believer, the individual Christian, the individual human being than can ever or should ever rest on the institutions as a whole. Don't put the 10 Commandments in schools. That's not the answer. Don't legally mandate Christian values. That's not the answer. Our responsibility is literally laid out for us at the end of the book of Mark in the Bible. It doesn't say establish governments that will help preach the gospel. It doesn't say establish litigation and legal items that will mandate the laying on of hands to heal people. It doesn't say place the 10 Commandments legally in every school so kids can see exactly what's going to happen to them if they behave wrong. It says for us to go out and preach the gospel. It says for us to lay hands on the sick. So since we're out here on the postmodern frontier, if you believe that you can stand on your own 2 feet, that you can be self-sufficient, that you don't need mental or emotional or physical hand-holding, you are a pioneer. You are on the frontier of cultural thought. You're on the frontier of society. And that's it. We are done and dusted. Sunrise Lounge. Big salutes and a firm handshake from the captain. Thank y'all so much for watching this far. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Check out our Throne Creator wish list as well. I know you want to contribute to something tangible, so instead of just throwing money at this project, you can actually contribute towards real physical creator items, new monitor, new camera, real legit stuff to help make this content take it a leap even farther than it already has. So you can support that way or become a recurring member on Patreon and get some cool loyalty rewards. Dude, check this out. Here, hold on. Check out this sticker you can get for 3 straight months. Hey, Fox. Sup? Check out the sticker you can get for 3 straight months of supporting for just $10 a month. And some other really cool loyalty rewards like the poster hanging up back there, this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now. This all comes from being a consecutive 3, 6, 9, 12 month member on Patreon for $10 a month. That's it. So show your loyalty and get rewards for it. Check out all the links below, down in the description, engage, get down in the comments, look at all of our links on the link tree, go follow my Spotify, create a custom playlist. Now, before we go, you really want to gain some happiness back like right now? Delete Facebook. 2 weeks. See what happens. In fact, come back and comment in the comments below. What happens? Delete Facebook. 2 weeks. Let's talk about it. Remember, we post content every 2 weeks in the main podcast series, and lots of other content comes in and around that 2 week time frame. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have that notification bell on so you don't miss any of the great content coming out, and follow us on the other social media platforms. And that's it. Thanks for listening, Sunrise Lounge. Remember, always pull up your hood, stay smart, and we'll see you on the next one.